How are you guys doing? Today is Friday, May 14th, 2021, out here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to review the Elite matchups and performances from yesterday, Thursday, May 13th, and of course, I'm going to preview everything that's going on today as we navigate through the world of sports one day at a time. Starting with the NBA, because the NBA season is coming to a close. Starting off in Miami, the defending Eastern Conference champs hosted the Philadelphia 76ers in a game on TNT. In this matchup, the Miami Heat would get the best of the Sixers as they beat them 106-94. The difference would come in the first half after they outscored the Philadelphia 76ers by 16 in the first quarter. For the Sixers, their leading scorer would be their starting power forward, Tobias Harris. He finished with 21 points in 30 minutes as he shot 8 for 17 from the field and 5 for 6 from the foul line. Their elite starting point guard Ben Simmons would finish with 8 points and 6 assists in 26 minutes as he shot 3 for 6 from the field and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. And their elite starting center Joel Embiid would finish with 6 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 steals in 25 minutes as he shot 3 for 9 from the field on the night. For the Miami Heat, their leading scorer was their elite starting small forward, Jimmy Butler. He finished with 21 points and 5 rebounds and 4 assists in 29 minutes as he shot 6 for 10 from the field, a perfect 4 for 4 from 3, and a perfect 5 for 5 from the line. Their elite starting center, Bam Adebayo, would finish with 18 points, 12 rebounds, and 8 assists in 35 minutes as he shot 9 for 13 from the field. With this win, the Miami Heat are now 39-31. Right now they are tied with the New York Knicks for the 5th best record in the Eastern Conference as they have now won their last 4 games and 8 of their last 10. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, they currently sit half a game behind the Atlanta Hawks, and they currently sit 4 games ahead of the 7th place Boston Celtics as they have secured a spot in the top 6 in the Eastern Conference, but they are still fighting for a playoff spot with the 4th place Hawks and the 6th place Knicks as the Heat have 2 more games left in the season so far. And they currently trail the first place Philadelphia 76ers by 8 games in the conference. With this loss, the first place Philadelphia 76ers are now 47-23. They are currently on a 2-game losing streak, but they've still won 8 of their last 10. They currently sit 1 game ahead of the second place Brooklyn Nets, as the Sixers have already clinched a playoff spot in the top 3 thus far, with 2 more games left to play. They sit 2 games ahead of the 3rd place Milwaukee Bucks. They sit 14 games ahead of the 8th place Charlotte Hornets, 15 games ahead of the 10th place Washington Wizards, and they sit 27 games ahead of the last place Detroit Pistons, just to give a sense of where they are. And looking at the other primetime game of the night, the Phoenix Suns hosted the Portland Trailblazers, and in this matchup, the Phoenix Suns would beat the Trailblazers 118-117 in a game that went all the way down to the wire. For the Trailblazers, their leading scorer would be their elite starting point guard, Damian Lillard. He finished with 41 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists in 43 minutes as he shot 16 for 23 from the field, 2 for 6 from 3, and 7 for 8 from the foul line on the night. Alongside him, their starting shooting guard, CJ McCollum, would finish with 27 points and 6 assists in 39 minutes as he shot 11 for 19 from the field, 5 for 9 from 3 on the night as well. For the Phoenix Suns, their leading scorer was their elite starting point guard, Chris Paul, who finished with 26 points and 7 assists in 32 minutes as he shot 11 for 14 from the field, 2 for 2 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. Their starting small forward, Mikal Bridges, would finish with 21 points, 11 rebounds, and a couple of assists in 41 minutes as he shot 6 for 9 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, and a perfect 6 for 6 from 3. Off the bench, their point guard, Cameron Payne, would finish with 21 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists in 27 minutes as he shot 8 for 12 from the field, a perfect 3 for 3 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. And then their elite starting shooting guard, Devin Booker, would finish with 18 points, 5 rebounds, and a couple of assists in 35 minutes as he shot 5 for 17 from the field and a perfect 8 for 8 from the foul line. With this win, the Phoenix Suns are now 49-21. That is the 2nd best record in the Western Conference and the 2nd best record in the NBA, as they have now won 7 of their last 10 games. They currently sit 1 game behind the 1st place Utah Jazz, as they currently have 2 more games left in the season. And they currently sit 2 games ahead of the 3rd place Los Angeles Clippers. With this loss, the 6th place Portland Trailblazers are now 41-30. That is the 6th best record in the Western Conference, as of course they have already clinched a spot in the Western Conference playoffs, but right now they're fighting for a spot outside of the NBA play-in series. As with this loss, they've still won 8 of their last 10 games. They sit 1 game behind the 5th place Dallas Mavericks and 1 game ahead of the 7th place Los Angeles Lakers in the playoff picture, as they currently trail the 1st place Utah Jazz by 9.5 games in the division. Looking at the games that weren't on prime time, jumping out to Atlanta, the Atlanta Hawks hosted the Orlando Magic. The Hawks were able to beat the Magic 116-93. The difference would come in the first half after they outscored Orlando by 13 in the first quarter and by 7 in the second by a combined 20 points. For the Orlando Magic, their leading scorer will come off the bench as their point guard RJ Hampton would finish with 18 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists in 32 minutes as he shot 7 for 15 from the field and 4 for 5 from 3. For the Atlanta Hawks, their leading scorer would be their starting shooting guard Bogdan Bogdanovic. He finished with 27 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals in 26 minutes as he shot 9 for 12 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, and a perfect 5 for 5 from the foul line. Their elite starting point guard Trae Young would finish with 18 points and 7 assists in 26 minutes as he shot 7 for 14 from the field and a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. With this win, the Atlanta Hawks are now 40-31. That is the 4th best record in the Eastern Conference, as they have now won their last 3 games and 6 of their last 10, as they currently have 1 more game left in their season. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, they currently sit 5.5 games behind the 3rd place Milwaukee Bucks, and they sit half a game ahead of the 5th place Miami Heat and 6th place New York Knicks, as they currently trail the 1st place Philadelphia 76ers by 7.5 games in the conference. With this loss, the Orlando Magic are now 21-49. That is the 2nd worst record in the Eastern Conference, as they have now lost their last 5 games and 7 of their last 10. They currently sit 11 games behind the 10th place Washington Wizards outside of the Eastern Conference playoff picture, as they are currently officially out of the playoff race, and they currently sit 26 games behind the 1st place Philadelphia 76ers in the conference. Jumping out to Charlotte, the Charlotte Hornets hosted the Los Angeles Clippers, and the Clippers would beat the Hornets 113-90 after outscoring the Hornets by 26 points in the second half in order to win by 23. For the Hornets, their leading scorer would end up being their elite starting point guard LaMelo Ball, who finished with 18 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, and 2 steals in 31 minutes as he shot 5 for 10 from the field, 3 for 4 from 3, and 5 for 6 from the foul line. For the Los Angeles Clippers, their leading scorer would be their elite starting point guard Paul George. He finished with 20 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists in 35 minutes as he shot 7 for 19 from the field, 5 for 13 from 3, and 1 for 3 from the foul line. And their goated small forward Kawhi Leonard would finish with 16 points, 3 rebounds, and 9 assists in 31 minutes as he shot 5 for 9 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, and 4 for 5 from the foul line. With this win, the Los Angeles Clippers are now 47-23. That is the 3rd best record in the Western Conference and tied with the Sixers for the 3rd best record in the NBA, as they have now won their last 2 games and 6 of their last 10. In the Western Conference playoff picture, they currently sit 2 games behind the 2nd place Phoenix Suns, and they sit 1 game ahead of the 4th place Denver Nuggets, as they currently have 2 more games left in their season. They currently trail the 1st place Utah Jazz by 3 games in the conference. With this loss, the Charlotte Hornets are now 33-37. They are tied with the Indiana Pacers for the 8th best record in the Eastern Conference, as they have now lost their last 3 games and 7 of their last 10. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, alongside the Pacers, they sit 2 games behind the 7th place Boston Celtics, and they sit 1 game ahead of the 10th place Washington Wizards, as they currently trail the 1st place 76ers by 14 games in the Eastern Conference, but they still have secured a spot for themselves in the Eastern Conference play-in series. Jumping out to Indianapolis, the Indiana Pacers hosted the Milwaukee Bucks, and the Bucks would beat the Pacers 142-133 after they went on to outscore the Pacers by 10 in the 3rd, which gave them the momentum they needed to win the game. For the Pacers, their leading scorer would be their starting small forward, Justin Holiday. He finished with 26 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists in 39 minutes as he shot 9 for 14 from the field and 8 for 12 from 3. Their starting point guard, TJ McConnell, would finish with 23 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, and 3 steals in 45 minutes as he shot 10 for 19 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, and 2 for 3 from the foul line. And their all-star starting power forward, Domantas Sabonis, would finish with 10 points, 6 rebounds, and 14 assists in 26 minutes as he shot 5 for 19 from the field on the night. For the Milwaukee Bucks, their leading scorer would be their elite starting power forward, reigning back-to-back MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo. He finished with 40 points, 15 rebounds, and 6 assists in 35 minutes as he shot 14 for 18 from the field, 1 for 1 from 3, and 11 for 16 from the foul line on the night. Their starting small forward, Chris Middleton, would finish with 22 points, 6 rebounds, and a couple of steals in 34 minutes as he shot 9 for 17 from the field and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. Their starting center out of Stanford, Brook Lopez, would finish with 21 points and 8 rebounds in 30 minutes as he shot 9 for 15 from the field and 3 for 4 from the foul line. And Drew Holiday, their point guard, would finish with 20 points and 14 assists, as well as 4 blocks in 34 minutes as he shot 8 for 14 from the field and 4 for 5 from the foul line on the night. With this win, the Milwaukee Bucks are now 45-25. That is the third best record in the Eastern Conference, as they have now won their last 2 games in 8 of their last 10. They have already clinched their division, and in the within the playoff picture, they currently sit 1 game behind the second place Brooklyn Nets, and they sit 5.5 games ahead of the 4th place Atlanta Hawks, as they have 2 more games left in their season, and they currently trail the 1st place Philadelphia 76ers by 2 games. With this loss, the Indiana Pacers are now 33-37. They are tied with the Charlotte Hornets for the 8th best record in the Eastern Conference, as they have now lost 6 of their last 10. Alongside the Hornets within the Eastern Conference playoff picture, they currently trail the 7th place Boston Celtics by 2 games, and they sit 1 game ahead of the 10th place Washington Wizards, as the Pacers have 2 more games left in their season. Jumping out to Madison Square Garden, the New York Knicks hosted the San Antonio Spurs. The Knicks were able to beat the Spurs 102-98 after outscoring the Spurs by 8 points in the 4th quarter after coming in trailing 4 and leaving the game winning by 4. For the San Antonio Spurs, their leading scorer was their starting small forward, DeMar DeRozan. He finished with 27 points and 8 rebounds in 38 minutes as he shot 10 for 18 from the field and 7 for 9 from the foul line. For the New York Knicks, their leading scorer came off the bench as their shooting guard, Alec Burks, would finish with 30 points and 10 rebounds in 34 minutes as he shot 11 for 20 from the field, 5 for 10 from 3, and a perfect 3 for 3 from the foul line. Their all-star starting power forward, Julius Randle, would finish with 25 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists in 45 minutes as he shot 7 for 21 from the field, 1 for 5 from 3, and a perfect 10 for 10 from the foul line. And their starting shooting guard out of Duke, RJ Barrett, would finish with 24 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists in 41 minutes as he shot 8 for 19 from the field, 5 for 9 from 3, and a perfect 3 for 3 from the foul line. With this win, the New York Knicks are now 39-31. They are tied with the Miami Heat for the 5th best record in the Eastern Conference, as they have now won 6 of their last 10 games. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, alongside the Heat, they sit half a game behind the 4th place Atlanta Hawks, and they sit 4 games ahead of the 7th place Boston Celtics, so they are out of the contention for the play-in tournament, but they are still competing for at least a top 4 spot in the East, and they currently trail the 1st place Philadelphia 76ers by 8 games in the conference. With this loss, the San Antonio Spurs are now 33-37. That is the 10th best record in the Western Conference, as they have now lost their last 2 games. They've now lost 8 of their last 10. However, in the Western Conference playoff picture, they sit 4 games behind the 9th place Memphis Grizzlies, and they sit 2 games ahead of the 11th place New Orleans Pelicans with 2 more games left in the season, and they have already clinched a spot for themselves in the play-in tournament, as they currently sit 17 whole games behind the 1st place Utah Jazz in the Western Conference. Jumping out to Chicago, the Chicago Bulls hosted the Toronto Raptors, and the Bulls were able to beat the Raptors 114-102. The big difference will come in the second quarter when the Bulls outscored the Raptors 36-20 by 16 points. For the Raptors, their leading scorer was their starting small forward, Stanley Johnson, out of Arizona. He finished with 35 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals in 43 minutes as he shot 12 for 22 from the field, 6 for 13 from 3, and 5 for 7 from the foul line on the night. For the Chicago Bulls, their leading scorer would be their all-star shooting guard, Zach LaVine. He finished with 24 points and 5 rebounds in 35 minutes as he shot 8 for 15 from the field, 3 for 7 from 3, and 5 for 6 from the foul line. Off the bench, their power forward out of Arizona, Lauri Markkanen, would finish with 20 points and 7 rebounds in 25 minutes as he shot 7 for 10 from the field and 6 for 9 from 3. Their all-star starting center, Nikola Vucevic, would finish with 16 points, 16 rebounds, and 6 assists in 32 minutes as he shot 7 for 19 from the field and 2 for 7 from 3 on the night. With this win, the Chicago Bulls are now 30-40. That is the 5th worst record in the Eastern Conference as they now have won 5 of their last 10 games. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, they currently sit 2 games behind the 10th place Washington Wizards outside of the Eastern Conference playoff picture, with 2 more games left in their season as they currently trail the first place Philadelphia 76ers by 17 games in the conference. With this loss, the Toronto Raptors are now 27-43. That is the 4th worst record in the Eastern Conference as they have now lost their last 5 games and they have lost 8 of their last 10. They currently sit 5 games behind the 10th place Washington Wizards outside of the Eastern Conference playoff picture as they have 2 more games left, so they are officially eliminated from playoff contention, and they currently trail the first place Philadelphia 76ers by 20 games in the Eastern Conference playoff picture to give a sense of where they are. Jumping out to Memphis, the Memphis Grizzlies hosted the Sacramento Kings, and in this matchup, the Grizzlies would beat the Kings 116-110, the difference being the third quarter where they outscored the Kings by 7. For the Kings, their leading scorer would come off the bench as their guard, Justin James, would come in with a career night. He would drop 31 points off the bench in 32 minutes as he shot 12 for 17 from the field, 4 for 5 from 3, and 3 for 4 from the foul line on the night. For the Memphis Grizzlies, their leading scorer would be their starting small forward, Dillon Brooks. He finished with 30 points and 6 rebounds, as well as 2 blocks in 37 minutes as he shot 13 for 28 from the field, 3 for 7 from 3, and 1 for 2 from the foul line. And then their elite starting point guard, Ja Morant, would finish with 12 points, 7 rebounds, and 8 assists alongside 6 turnovers in 38 minutes as he shot 5 for 12 from the field, 1 for 5 from 3, and 1 for 2 from the foul line. Additionally, in their starting lineup, their starting center, Jonas Valanciunas, would finish with 24 points and 13 rebounds in 33 minutes as he shot 8 for 10 from the field and a perfect 8 for 8 from the foul line on the night. With this win, the Memphis Grizzlies are now 37-33. They are tied with the Golden State Warriors for the 8th best record in the Western Conference, as they have now won their last 4 games and they have won 6 of their last 10. In the Western Conference playoff picture, alongside the Golden State Warriors, they sit 3 games behind the 7th place defending champs Los Angeles Lakers, and they sit 4 games ahead of the 10th place San Antonio Spurs, as the Grizzlies now have 2 more games left in their season as they currently trail the first place Utah Jazz by 13 games in the conference. With this loss, the Sacramento Kings are now 31-39. They are tied with the New Orleans Pelicans for the 4th worst record in the Western Conference. As with this loss, they've still won 7 of their last 10 games. They currently sit 2 games behind the 10th place San Antonio Spurs, but they are officially out of contention as they have 2 more games left, and they currently trail the first place Utah Jazz by 19 games in the Western Conference. Jumping out to Minneapolis, the Minnesota Timberwolves hosted the Denver Nuggets, and the Nuggets were able to beat the Timberwolves 114-103 as the Nuggets outscored the Timberwolves by 9 in the first and by 8 in the fourth. For the Timberwolves in this matchup, their leading scorer would be their starting small forward, their number 1 overall pick from the 2020 NBA draft, Anthony Edwards. He finished with 29 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 blocks in 39 minutes as he shot 8 for 16 from the field, 4 for 9 from 3, and 9 for 12 from the foul line on the night. Their elite starting center, Karl Anthony Towns, finished with 20 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, and 5 turnovers in 39 minutes as he shot 6 for 18 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, and 4 for 6 from the foul line. And then their elite starting point guard, D'Angelo Russell, would finish with 17 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists in 36 minutes as he shot 6 for 12 from the field, 3 for 7 from 3, and 2 for 6 from the foul line. For the Denver Nuggets, their leading scorer was their elite starting center, Nikola Jokic. He finished with 31 points, 14 rebounds and 4 assists in 32 minutes as he shot 14 for 21 from the field and a perfect 3 for 3 from the foul line. With this win, the Denver Nuggets are now 46-24. That is the fourth best record in the Western Conference, as they have now won their last 2 games in 7 of their last 10. In the Western Conference playoff picture, they currently trail the third-place Los Angeles Clippers by a game, and they sit 5 games ahead of the fifth-place Dallas Mavericks, as they have 2 more games left in their season, and they currently trail the first-place Utah Jazz by 2 games in the They trailed them by 4 games in the conference. With this loss, the Minnesota Timberwolves are now 22-48. That is the third worst record in the Western Conference. With this loss, they've still won 6 of their last 10. They currently sit 11 games behind the 10th place San Antonio Spurs outside of the Western Conference playoff picture, and they currently sit 28 full games behind the first place Utah Jazz in the Western Conference, as they have 2 more games remaining in their season. And right now, that is how the NBA is shaping up following yesterday's matchups. Looking out to what's going on today, of course, starting with the prime times, because it is Friday and a lot of seasons are coming to an end. At 9:30, the Golden State Warriors are going to host the New Orleans Pelicans. The Warriors hold the 8th best record in the West, tied with the Grizzlies. The Pelicans hold the 11th best record. The Pelicans will not be able to make it in regardless, but that it'll still be an impressive game to watch. Outside of that, at 7:30, at 7 o'clock, the Washington Wizards are going to host the Cleveland Cavaliers. At 8 o'clock, the Detroit Pistons are going to host the Denver Nuggets. The Philadelphia 76ers are going to host the Orlando Magic, and the Oklahoma City Thunder are going to host the Utah Jazz. At 9 o'clock, the Dallas Mavericks are going to host the Toronto Raptors. The Houston Rockets are going to host the Los Angeles Clippers, and the Memphis Grizzlies are going to host the Sacramento Kings. And that's virtually what the NBA is going to look like for today. Sticking within the arena, but shifting the context to the ice just to get a good sense of what the NHL is looking like following yesterday's matchups. Of course, not many. Starting off north of the border, the Calgary Flames were able to beat the Vancouver Canucks 4-1 to pick up their 24th win of the season. With this win, they hold the 5th best record in the North Division, as they are unable to clinch a playoff spot for this year, as they just missed the cut. Jumping out west, the St. Louis Blues hosted the Minnesota Wild and were able to pull up a 7-3 win to pick up their 27th win of the season. With this win, the St. Louis Blues are holding on to the 4th best record in the West, as they have clinched a playoff spot. And then jumping out to Denver, the Colorado Avalanche were able to beat the Los Angeles Kings 5-1, scoring all 5 of their goals in the second period, picking up their 39th win of the season, which secures the best record in the West as they win the tiebreaker over the Las Vegas Golden Knights at the very end of the season. As the NHL season is officially coming to a close today, as the last game between the Jets and the Maple Leafs will be at 8 o'clock, and then after that, I believe that is when the season is virtually almost over. But that is what the NHL is looking like as we are reaching its dwindling days of the season. So jumping out to the MLB just to get a sense of what's going on out there. The only MLB primetime matchup that took place was out in Denver, as the Colorado Rockies took on the Cincinnati Reds on ESPN+. And in this matchup, the Rockies would beat the Reds 13-8 to pick up their 14th win of the season. For the Cincinnati Reds, the start and the loss will go to Luis Castillo. Castillo would allow 8 earned runs in 3.2 innings pitched as he struck out 3 batters on the day. With this loss, he is now 1-5 on the season. In their lineup, they had 2 players that had more than 1 hit. Their right fielder, Nick Castellanos, would go 2 for 4 with a run on the day. And then their second baseman, Jonathan India, would go 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs and 2 runs, as India hit his second home run of the season. With this win, going to the Colorado Rockies, the start and the win went to Chichi Gonzalez. Chichi Gonzalez would allow no earned runs in 7 innings pitched as he struck out 2 batters on the day. With this win, Chichi Gonzalez is 2-1 as a starting pitcher. Their left fielder, Raimel Tapia, would end up going 2 for 4 with 2 runs on the day. Their first baseman, who in this matchup was Connor Joe, would go 2 for 3 with 3 RBIs and a run. Their second baseman, Ryan McMahon, would go 2 for 5 with an RBI and 2 runs. Their third baseman, Josh Fuentes, would go 3 for 5 with 4 RBIs and a run as Fuentes hit his 4th home run of the season. Their center fielder, Jonathan Daza, would end up going 3 for 4 with 2 runs on the day. And with this win, the Colorado Rockies are now 14-24. That is the worst record in the National League West, as they now trail the San Francisco Giants by 9.5 games in the division. With this loss, the Cincinnati Reds are now 17-18. That is the third best record in the National League Central, as they now trail the St. Louis Cardinals by 4.5 games in that division. Looking at the games that weren't on prime time, jumping out to Atlanta, the Atlanta Braves hosted the Toronto Blue Jays, and the Blue Jays would beat the Atlanta Braves 8-4 as they scored 5 of their 8 runs in the last 2 innings. For the Atlanta Braves, the start would go to Charlie Morton. Morton would allow 3 earned runs in 4.2 innings pitched as he struck out 4 batters on the day. The loss would go to the Braves closer, Will Smith. Will Smith would allow 4 earned runs in the .1 inning that he pitched. With this loss, he is now 0-3 as a relief pitcher this season. And then for the Braves, their elite right fielder, Ronald Acuna Jr., would go 1 for 4 with an RBI and a run, as nobody on the team actually finished with more than 1 hit on the team. I think a lot of that credit could be given to Ross Stripling, the player that was credited with the start for the Blue Jays. He allowed 2 earned runs in 5 innings pitches. He struck out 9 on the day. He was not given the win. The win was given to their third relief pitcher, Travis Bergen. Bergen would allow no earned runs in the 1 inning that he pitched, as he was unable to strike out a batter, but he is now 1-0 as a relief pitcher on the season. Their second baseman, Marcus Semien, would end up going 2 for 5 with a run. Their shortstop, Bo Bichette, would go 2 for 5 with 3 RBIs and 2 runs. Their right fielder, Teoscar Hernandez, would go 2 for 4 with an RBI and 2 runs. And then their third baseman, Cavan Biggio, would go 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs and a run. With this win, the Toronto Blue Jays are now 20-16. That is the second best record in the American League East, as they now trail the Boston Red Sox by 1.5 games in the division. With this loss, the Atlanta Braves are now 17-20. They are tied with the Miami Marlins for the third best record in the National League East, as they now trail the New York Mets by 4 games in the division. Jumping out to Washington, D.C., the Washington Nationals hosted the Philadelphia Phillies and were able to pick up a 5-1 win after picking up 4 runs in the first inning. For the Philadelphia Phillies, the start and the loss would be given to Zach Eflin. Eflin would allow all 5 of the runs that the team allowed in 6 innings pitched, as he struck out 9 batters on the day. With this loss, he is 2-2 as a relief pitcher on the season. No one on the team was able to log more than 1 hit. For the Washington Nationals, the start and the win would be credited to Patrick Corbin, who allowed 1 earned run in 7 innings pitched as he struck out 9 batters on the day. With this win, he is now 2-3 as a starting pitcher for the Nationals. Their left fielder, Kyle Schwarber, would go 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run for himself, as Schwarber hit his 4th home run of the season. And then their third baseman, Starlin Castro, was the only other player with more than 1 hit, as he went 2 for 3 with an RBI and a run on the day. With this win, the Washington Nationals are now 14-19. That is the worst record in the National League East, as they now trail the New York Mets by 5 games in the division. With this loss, the Philadelphia Phillies are now 20-18. That is the second best record in the National League East, win percentage-wise, as they now trail the New York Mets by 1.5 games in the division, so they trail the Mets as well. Jumping out to Detroit, the Detroit Tigers hosted the Kansas City Royals and were able to pick up a 4-3 win at home after all 4 of their runs came in the second inning. For the Kansas City Royals, the start and the loss would be given to their starting pitcher, who in this matchup was Daniel Lynch. Lynch would allow 3 earned runs in 2.2 innings pitched as he struck out 4 on the day. With this loss, Lynch is 0-2 as a starting pitcher on the season. Their elite catcher, Salvador Perez, would go 2 for 5 with an RBI, and their left fielder, Andrew Benintendi, would go 3 for 5 on the day, and then their shortstop, Nicky Lopez, would go 2 for 3 with a run on the day. For the Detroit Tigers, the start and the win would be given to Spencer Turnbull. Turnbull would allow 1 earned run in 6.1 innings pitched as he struck out 7 on the day. With this win, he is 2-2 as a relief pitcher, and the save was given to Michael Fulmer, who pitched .2 innings and struck out 1 batter on the day. This is Michael Fulmer's second save of the season for Detroit. In their batting lineup, their right fielder, Robbie Grossman, will go 2 for 4 with an RBI. Their future Hall of Fame designated hitter, Miguel Cabrera, will go 2 for 3 with a run. Their shortstop, Nico Goodrum, will go 2 for 4. And then their catcher, Eric Haas, Sorry if I butchered the name. He went 2 for 4 with a run on the day for himself. With this win, the Detroit Tigers are now 13-24. That is the fourth best record in the American League Central, as they now trail the Chicago White Sox by 10 games in the division. With this loss, the Kansas City Royals are now 16-20. That is the third best record in the American League Central, as they now trail the Chicago White Sox by 6.5 games in the division. Jumping out to Milwaukee, the Milwaukee Brewers hosted the St. Louis Cardinals, and the Cardinals were able to beat the Brewers 2-0, as they were able to score a run in the first and ninth inning. For the Milwaukee Brewers, the start and the loss would be given to Corbin Burnes. Burnes would allow 1 earned run in the 5 innings that he pitched, as he struck out 9 on the day. With this loss, Burnes is now 2-3 as a starting pitcher for the Brewers this season. The only player on the team that finished with more than 1 hit was their shortstop, Luis Urias, who went 2 for 4 on the day. For the St. Louis Cardinals, the start and the win was given to their elite starting pitcher, Jack Flaherty, who's having an amazing season thus far. He allowed no earned runs in 6 innings pitched, as he struck out 6 batters on the day. With this win, Jack Flaherty is 6-0 on the season, or he is 7-0 on the season. And Alex Reyes, their closer, picked up his 11th save of the season, as he struck out all 3 of the batters. He had to get out in the last inning he played. With his 11th save of the season, he was able to help them get the win. Also for the Cardinals, their elite third baseman, Nolan Arenado, would go 3 for 5, as he was the only player on the team who had more than 1 hit on the day. With this win, the St. Louis Cardinals are now 23-15. They have the most wins in the National League, tied with the San Francisco Giants, and they have the best record in the National League Central, as they sit 3 games over the second place Milwaukee Brewers. And the Brewers, with this loss, like I said, they sit 3 games behind the St. Louis Cardinals, as they currently sit at 20-18, with right behind them in the divisional standings. Jumping out to Chicago, the Chicago White Sox hosted the Minnesota Twins and were able to pull up a 4-2 win to give Lance Lynn his 4th win of the season. For the Minnesota Twins, the start and the loss was given to Michael Pineda. Pineda would allow 3 earned runs and 5.1 innings pitched, as he struck out 7 on the day. With this loss, he is 2-2 as a starting pitcher on the season. For the Chicago White Sox, the win and the start was given to Lance Lynn. Lynn would allow no earned runs in 5 innings pitched, as he struck out 9 batters on the day. With this win, he is now 4-1 as a starting pitcher, and the save was given to their elite closer, Liam Hendriks, who allowed no earned runs and struck out 2 batters in 1.2 innings pitched, with his 7th save of the season, of course. Their elite shortstop, Tim Anderson, would go 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run, as he had his 5th home run of the season. He was the only Chicago White Sox player who had more than 1 hit on the day. And with this win, the Chicago White Sox are now 22-13. That is the best record in the American League Central, as they sit 1 game ahead of the second-place Cleveland Indians. With this loss, the Minnesota Twins are now 12-23. That is the worst record in the American League Central, as they now trail the Chicago White Sox by 10 games in the division. Jumping out to Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh Pirates hosted the San Francisco Giants. The Giants would beat the Pirates 3-1, as all 3 of their runs came in the 5th inning. And for the Pittsburgh Pirates in this matchup, the start and the loss would be given to their starting pitcher, who in this matchup was Will Crowe. Will Crowe would allow 3 earned runs and 5 innings pitched, as he struck out 5 batters on the day. With this loss, Will Crowe was 0-2 as a starting pitcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates, as nobody in their batting lineup had more than 1 hit. A lot of that can be credited to the San Francisco Giants starting pitcher, Anthony DeSclafani. DeSclafani would allow no earned runs in 5 innings pitched, as he only allowed 1 hit. He struck out 5 batters on the day. He would be credited with the win. With the win, he is now 3-1 as a starting pitcher this season. And the save was given to Tyler Rogers. Rogers would allow no earned runs in the 1 inning that he pitched. He now has 3 saves on the season. Their shortstop, Mauricio Dubon, will go 2 for 4 on the day, and the only other player that had more than 1 hit was their center fielder, Steven Duggar, who went 2 for 3 with an RBI and a run, as he had his 1st home run of the season. With this win, the San Francisco Giants are now 23-14. That is the best record in the National League West, as they sit 2.5 games ahead of the second place San Francisco San Diego Padres in the division, as technically they have the best record in the National League at the moment. And with this loss, the Pittsburgh Pirates are now 15-22. That is the worst record in the National League Central, as they now trail the St. Louis Cardinals by 7.5 games in the division. Jumping out to Boston, the Boston Red Sox hosted the Oakland Athletics and were able to pull up an 8-1 win as they scored 7 of their 8 runs in the first 3 innings. For the Oakland Athletics, the start and the loss will be given to Sean Manaea. Manaea would allow 7 earned runs in 2 innings pitched as he struck out 2 on the day. With this loss, Manaea is now 3-2 as a starting pitcher. In their batting lineup, the only player that had more than 1 hit was their designated hitter, Mitch Moreland, who went 2 for 4 with a run on the day. For the Boston Red Sox, the start and the win would be given to Garrett Richards. Richards would allow no earned runs in 6 innings pitched as he struck out 4. With this win, Garrett Richards is 3-2, and the save would be given to Garrett Whitlock. Whitlock would allow 1 earned run in 3 innings pitched as he struck out 2. This would be his first save of the season. Their second baseman, Michael Chavis, would end up going 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs. Their elite left fielder, JD Martinez, would go 3 for 4 with an RBI and a run. Their designated hitter, Xander Bogaerts, would go 3 for 3 with 3 RBIs and a run as he hit his 8th home run of the season. Their right fielder, Hunter Renfroe, would go 2 for 4 with a run. And then their first baseman, Bobby Dalbec, would go 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run as Dalbec hit his 3rd home run of the season yesterday. With this win, the Boston Red Sox are now 23-16. That is the best record in the American League East, and they are tied with the Oakland Athletics for the best record in the American League in total, as they both sit at 23-16. In the American League East, with this win, the Red Sox sit a game and a half over the second-place Toronto Blue Jays, and with this loss, the Oakland Athletics sit 1.5 games ahead of the second-place Houston Astros in the American League West. Jumping out to Tampa Bay, the defending American League champs, the Rays hosted the New York Yankees and were able to pull up a 9-1 win, scoring all 9 of their runs before the Yankees scored their solo run in the 9th inning. For the Yankees, the start would be given to Jameson Taillon, and he would also be tabbed with the loss. Taillon would allow 4 earned runs in 4.2 innings pitched as he struck out 9 on the day. With this loss, he is 1-3 as a starting pitcher for the Pinstripes. The only player that had more than 1 hit was their catcher, Gary Sanchez, who went 2 for 3 on the day. For the Tampa Bay Rays, the start would be given to Rich Hill. Hill would allow no earned runs in 6.2 innings pitched as he struck out 9 on the day. With this win, Rich Hill is 2-1 as a starting pitcher on the season. Their designated hitter, Austin Meadows, would go 3 for 5 with 4 RBIs and a run. Their elite left fielder, Randy Arozarena, would go 1 for 3 with 2 walks with 3 RBIs and 2 runs as Arozarena would hit his 4th home run of the season. Going back to Meadows, he hit his 8th home run of the season as he went 3 for 5. And then their first baseman, Yandy Diaz, would go 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs. With this win, the Tampa Bay Rays are now 20-19. That is the 4th best record in the American League East, as they now trail the Boston Red Sox by 3 games in the division. With this loss, the New York Yankees are now 20-17. That is the 3rd best record in the American League East, as they now trail the Boston Red Sox by 2 games in the division. Jumping out to Houston, the Houston Astros were able to beat their in-state rivals, the Texas Rangers, 4-3, thanks to their walk-off run in the 11th inning off of a wild pitch from Brett Martin. Regardless of this will be their 21st win of the season. For the Texas Rangers, the start will be given to Mike Foltynewicz. Foltynewicz would allow 3 earned runs in 5 innings pitched as he struck out 3 batters on the day. The loss would be given to their last relief pitcher, Brett Martin. Brett Martin would allow 1 run in 0.2 innings pitched as he struck out 1 batter on the day. With this loss, Martin is 0-1 as a relief pitcher on the season, and no one on the team would log more than 1 hit. A lot of that can be credited to the Houston Astros starting pitcher, Christian Javier. Javier would allow 3 earned runs in 7 innings pitched as he struck out 6 batters on the day. The win, however, will be given to their relief pitcher, Brooks Raley. Raley would allow no earned runs in the 1 inning that he pitched as he struck out 2 on the day. Their elite second baseman, Jose Altuve, would go 2 for 5 with 3 RBIs. And then their designated hitter, Jordan Alvarez, would go 2 for 5 himself. And then their first baseman, Aldemis Diaz, would end up going 2 for 4 with a run himself. With this win, the Houston Astros are now 21-17. That is the second best record in the American League West, as they now trail the Oakland Athletics by a game and a half in the division. With this loss, the Texas Rangers are now 18-21. That is the fourth best record in the American League West, as they now trail the Oakland Athletics by 5 games in the division. Jumping out to Phoenix, the Arizona Diamondbacks were able to beat they hosted the Miami Marlins. The Marlins were able to beat the Diamondbacks 5-1, giving Rogers his 5th win of the season as a starter. For the Arizona Diamondbacks, the start and the loss was given to Merrill Kelly. Kelly would allow 3 earned runs in 6.1 innings pitched as he struck out 4 on the day. With this loss, Kelly is 2-4 as a starting pitcher this season. Their first baseman, Asdrubal Cabrera, would end up going 2-for-3. And then their center fielder, Tim LaCastro, would go 2-for-4 with a run for himself. For the Miami Marlins, the start and the win would be given to Trevor Rogers. Rogers would allow 1 earned run in 6 innings pitched as he struck out 7 batters on the day. With this win, Trevor Rogers is now 5-2 as a starting pitcher. And their batting lineup, their shortstop, Miguel Rojas, would end up going 2-for-5 with an RBI and a run. Their first baseman, Jesus Aguilar, will go 3-for-5 with an RBI and a run. Their left fielder, Corey Dickerson, will go 2-for-5 with an RBI and a run. Their right fielder, Adam Duvall, will go 2-for-4 with an RBI. And then their center fielder, Magneuris Sierra, will go 2-for-4 with a run. With this win, the Miami Marlins are now 17-20. They are tied with the Atlanta Braves for the third best record in the National League East, as they now trail the first place New York Mets by 4 games in the division. With this loss, the Arizona Diamondbacks are now 17-21. That is the 4th best record in the National League West, as they now trail the San Francisco Giants by 6.5 games in the division. Just to give a sense of where they are, last but not least, the Seattle Mariners hosted the Cleveland Indians, and the Indians were able to beat the Mariners 4-2 as they scored 2 runs in the second and third inning each. For the Mariners in this matchup, the start and the loss will be given to Logan Gilbert. Gilbert would allow 4 earned runs in the 4 innings that he pitched, all 4 of the runs that Seattle allowed, as he struck out 5 batters on the day. With this loss, he is 0-1 as a starting pitcher. And the entire batting lineup was only held to 2 hits all game, and a lot of that can be credited to the Cleveland Indians starting pitcher, Zach Plesac. Plesac would allow 2 earned runs on 2 hits in 8 innings pitched as he struck out 2 batters on the day. The save, however, would be given to their second relief pitcher, Brian Shaw, who allowed no earned runs in the .1 inning that he pitched. That's his first save of the season. No one on the Indians would finish with more than 1 hit, but their elite third baseman, Jose Ramirez, will go 1-for-4 with 2 RBIs and a run for himself. With this win, the Cleveland Indians are now 21-14. That is the second best record in the American League Central, as they now trail the Chicago White Sox by a game in the division. With this loss, the Seattle Mariners are now 18-20. That is the third best record in the American League West, as they now trail the Oakland Athletics by 4.5 games in the division. Right now, that is what the MLB is looking like following yesterday's games, but of course leading into today, because today is Friday. Today should be the height of these season series. But regardless, looking into how these games are going to start off, starting at 3:10, it'll be the first doubleheader matchup in Chicago, as the White Sox will take on the Royals. In the first game, it'll be a matchup between Lucas Giolito and Brad Keller. And then the second matchup looks like it'll be between Michael Kopech and Jacob Junis. Outside of that game, there's going to be an ESPN Plus matchup at 10:10 between the defending champs Los Angeles Dodgers, led by their go-to starting pitcher Clayton Kershaw, as they face off against Sandy Alcantara and the Miami Marlins. Outside of the primetime games, at 6:35, Miguel Yajure and the Pittsburgh Pirates are going to host Kevin Gausman and the San Francisco Giants. At 7:05, Dean Kramer and the Baltimore Orioles are going to host the New York Yankees, led by their elite starting pitcher Corey Kluber. At 7:10, Nick Pivetta and the Boston Red Sox are going to host Griffin Canning and the Los Angeles Angels. Tariq Skubal and the Detroit Tigers are going to host Jake Arrieta and the Chicago Cubs. And Tyler Glasnow and the Tampa Bay Rays are going to host David Peterson and the New York Mets. At 7:37, Steven Matz and the Toronto Blue Jays are going to host Vince Velasquez and the Philadelphia Phillies. At 8:10, it looks as though Matt Shoemaker and the Minnesota Twins are going to host Frankie Montas and the Oakland A's. Zach Greinke and the Houston Astros are going to host Wes Benjamin and the Texas Rangers. And Adrian Hauser and the Milwaukee Brewers are going to host Drew Smyly and the Atlanta Braves. At 8:40, Germán Marquez and the Colorado Rockies are going to host Wade Miley and the Cincinnati Reds. And then around 9:40, Riley Smith and the Arizona Cardinals are going to host the Washington Nationals, led by their goated starting pitcher Max Scherzer. At 10:10, Chris Flexen and the Seattle Mariners are going to host Aaron Savali and the Cleveland Indians. And then last but not least, at 10:10, Joe Musgrove and the San Diego Padres are going to host Johan Oviedo and the St. Louis Cardinals. Right now, that is what the MLB is looking like following yesterday's performance leading into today. And last but not least, taking a look at what's been going on off of our continent, especially in the world of soccer as it pertains to how all these leagues are shaping up. First, Manchester United hosted Liverpool in the game that was made up for the day in which the Manchester United fans stormed the building. And in this matchup, Liverpool would beat Manchester United 4-2. The first goal of the game will go to Manchester United's elite Portuguese center attacking mid, Bruno Fernandes. Then Liverpool would see 3 goals from Jota and Firmino first to end the first half. So it was 2-1 Liverpool. And then Firmino would score a second goal early in the second half, making it 3-1. Marcus Rashford, the elite young English forward for Man U, was able to score in the 68th minute to make it 3-2. And then Mo Salah, the elite Egyptian forward for Liverpool scored in the 90th minute to give Liverpool I would say a much needed win. Right now, they hold the 5th best record in the Premier League as they currently sit 4 points below Chelsea with 1 less game played. So, of course, this was a must-win for them, a very important win as well. In the German DFB Pokal, which is the German domestic cup, Borussia Dortmund was able to beat RB Leipzig 4-1 as they got 2 goals from both their elite Norwegian striker, Erling Haaland, and 2 goals from their elite young English forward, Jadon Sancho. With this win, they will now face off against Bayern Munich in the German Super Cup right at the beginning of that season. And then Real Madrid was able to beat Granada 4-1. Luka Modric, Rodrigo Odriozola, and then Karim Benzema will score all the goals for Real Madrid. Currently looking at what La Liga looks like, Real Madrid temporarily sits right above. They sit 2 points ahead of Barcelona. They sit two games behind Atletico Madrid as Madrid and Barcelona as all 3 of these teams now have 2 games left. It'll be very interesting to see how this season ends up. But right now, that is how sports are shaping up for today, Friday, May 14th, 2021, out here in this quarantine. I want to thank everyone once again for listening to this piece. I want to thank ESPN, and I want to thank MLB.com for, of course, providing the stats and figures. And once again, once all of today's exhibitions and matchups are done, I will come back tomorrow on Saturday, May 15th, for another installment of The Elite. Once again, thank you for listening to all 46 minutes of my piece. I hope all is well, and peace out. I will catch you tomorrow.